I'm Zach with the Movie Castle. Today we're going to be talking about Dracula from 1931, directed by Tod Browning. This is, of course, the Universal Dracula, the classic one, starring Bela Lugosi. So I went into this movie. I had seen it before, but it had been a few years. I was a lot younger when I saw it the first time. And this movie, 1931, it's about 80 years old, is that right? 90. It's almost 90 years old. So I was curious how it would hold up, especially because I hadn't seen it in a long, long time. And it actually really does. Not all old movies do. A lot of them you can see, okay, we've learned and we've gotten a lot better. But this one, there's a reason why it's so iconic. The black and white, it's just dripping with gothic atmosphere, and so many of the shots look so great. And I wasn't really expecting how nice it would look going in. I really am glad I went for the Blu-ray on this, because Blu-rays for black and white movies can look really nice, and this movie really does. And there's so many cool little iconic moments, you know, Lugosi's performance and his lines like, "I am Dracula," or "Children of the Night," with that accent that he chose, that is the accent that people still use when they do a Dracula voice today. And it was way better than I thought. So anyway, this version of Dracula, you have a guy named Renfield who is a real estate agent, and he goes to Transylvania to meet with Count Dracula, and once he's over there, Dracula buys the land in England. I think it's an old convent, and then, unfortunately for Renfield, turns Renfield into his ghoul, his servant, and the two of them go back to England to set up shop over there. Now, unfortunately for Dracula, he sets up shop next to a psychiatric hospital where Dr. Van Helsing works, and Van Helsing's one of the few people in London that could post a challenge to Dracula. And that's one thing too. The actor that plays Van Helsing, I mean, he is a really good performance, and you know, you see everyone doing the Lugosi Dracula, but you don't get as many people doing this version of Van Helsing. And he's cool. He's got the tiny little glasses and this cool haircut. Van Helsing being as cool of a character is one of the surprises with this movie. And there were a few things I really didn't expect. There's a few things like the first scene where you see the vampire Dracula gets out of his coffin, and you see the brides of Dracula in this movie. I forgot all about that. And there's a random little vampire bug that gets out of a tiny coffin. I don't know what that was about. But there's things like they use wolfsbane instead of garlic in this movie. I didn't suspect that. There were a few tiny faults with this movie. Really, the faults aren't too bad. There are things like, you know, a few weird edits, and there's an event at the end of the movie, I won't spoil it, but there's one event that's a pretty major event that has to happen off camera because of the censors of the time. There's also a few things that don't really translate anymore. One is like Renfield goes to the village, and he says with a serious face, "I'm here to see Count Dracula," which, you know, works in the world of the story, but nowadays Dracula becoming this big pop culture icon, it's just so weird to hear someone say with a straight face, "I'm here to see Count Dracula," or later on in the movie, "I think Dracula might be a vampire." And that's just where this movie having a huge pop culture significance actually does kind of make it a little weird to go back and watch in that way. Another thing that's really weird about it is there's very little music in this movie. The opening has some music, but other than that, there's not really much. So you actually, most DVDs or Blu-rays have a Philip Glass soundtrack that was made way later, and if you want to go and turn that on, I mean, it's definitely a good option. Because yeah, it gets kind of weird, but there are arguments for each way, because, you know, having no music, it really kind of has this cold horror feeling of just, you know, the it's like a pitch black but for a sound, you know. So I could see the argument going either way. But really, you know, in spite of having a few weird things from being an older movie, it really does hold up, and it really is way better than I thought it would be, and I'm really interested. This pack has 6 movies, and I really just want to blow through them all. Well, actually 7 movies. It's got the Spanish version of Dracula, which I'll probably do another video on. But it's great. It's better than I thought. Van Helsing, Dracula, they're all cool. Renfield as the maniac ghoul character, I don't get enough people talking about him. He was great at that crazy smile and that weird look in his eyes. All in all, I totally underestimated this one, and it really blew me away, and I want to watch more Universal Monster movies, so look forward to more of them coming to this channel soon. Next week, or not next week, probably next video, got our first board game, Racco. So, a little break from a movie, cover a board game, we'll see what that's like, and then we're going to go back to some movies. Anyway guys, hope you have a great day. Next time we'll be covering Racco.